This is All India Radio. You will now hear comments from the press. The Times of India, in its editorial title, Top Heavy Parties, writes, when the votes are counted tomorrow, India will not just be electing a new government, but also scripting the political fates of several dozen parties. We will know tomorrow who will run the government for hopefully the next 5 years. Apart from that, however, there is a question about the long-term political future of parties, the extent to which they are able to institutionalize stability and continuity. Too many of them are in the grip of dynasties and or personality cults which may render them unable to respond to fresh challenges. The once mighty Congress has shriveled, the more recent BSP has stagnated, and the AAP's promises lie in tatters. Congress's descent into a dynastic enterprise in the 1970s was followed by a steady exit of many leaders and communities from its fold. In the current Congress, defeat even cannot displace the Gandhi family's stranglehold, which threatens to turn it moribund. And the dynasties are everywhere. Take SP, TMC, DMK, TDP, RJD, NCP, Akali Dal and JDS to name a few, which may explain why they have lost ground in respective bastions. Talent gets edged out. Entire castes, social groups feel neglected, and political mistakes are not corrected when the leader or leading family becomes supreme. Take SP or RJD, which started out as parties representing the vast OBC grouping but are now identified as Yadav family enterprises. AIADMK's difficulties in the post-Jayalalitha phase, Naveen Patnaik's workout video to reassure BJD cadres, and JDU's loss of heft after Nitish Kumar's shifting positions reveal the fragility of centralized parties. BJP has benefited from the infirmities of rival parties and could come up trumps tomorrow. If BJP should come to power tomorrow, it's all the more important to find a way to breed and nurture genuine leadership talent in its middle tiers and ministries rather than apparatchiks who follow a centralized high command, else it will only replicate Congress. The Asian Age, in its editorial title, Toppling Governments, a Disservice to Democracy, says, the toppling game in Karnataka has been on even before an inkling of the possible results was given by the exit polls. The same game has begun in Madhya Pradesh, where Kamal Nath's Congress government has a wafer-thin majority. These moves to break up MLAs' loyalties and entice them to break ranks is the bane of the spirit of democracy. Elections are the bedrock of democracy, reflecting the choice of the people whose duty as well as right is to elect their representatives, who are invariably members of political parties. No doubt, politics has a shifting dynamic. Any attempt to scuttle the people's voice by bringing about changes of government to suit a kind of majoritarianism in a federal setup should be seen as the antithesis of democratic principles. The first recorded case of an elected government displaced came when the communist government in Kerala, formed after the 1957 elections, was sacked 2 years later through the use of Article 356. If such an early instance of political gamesmanship was an aberration, the subversion of public choices became far more frequent later from splits in ruling parties after the Janata Alliance came to power in 1977 and the toppling of governments opposed to New Delhi became frequent. Of course, Indira Gandhi played it like the game of Monopoly later with the frequent use of Article 356, a ploy which her son was also to use often. The age of the Ayarams and Gayarams was upon us, and open trading in MLAs snowballed into an evil, threatening the very roots of people electing legislators. If the Indian model of democracy is to cleanse itself of manipulative politics, the national parties must first stop aiming for power at any cost and going beyond the public choice by creating shifts in loyalties. The Tribune, in its editorial titled Budgam Chopper Crash, comments, a day after the February 26 Balakot airstrike, an Mi-17 helicopter of the IAF crashed at Budgam in Kashmir. All 6 IAF personnel on board and a civilian on the ground were killed, including a young squadron leader from Chandigarh, Siddharth Vishisht. The tragic incident was reduced to a footnote amid the euphoria over the retaliatory aerial action and the release of Wing Commander Abhinandan Vardhaman from Pakistan's custody. The helicopter was downed by a surface-to-air missile of the IAF itself, even as the air defense system was on the highest alert after the airstrike. The incident happened around the time Indian and Pakistani jets were engaged in a dogfight over Naushera in J&K. It is shocking that the IFF Identification Friend or Foe system, which automatically transmits a unique identification signal, was switched off on the Mi-17. The probe should pinpoint who all were responsible for not following the mandatory procedures despite strict instructions from the Air Force headquarters. Those were the comments from the press.